Greeting friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you have gone through the weekend well. Yeah, most of us, of course, have encountered hard times, especially last week, as we saw what was happening in the market to be wild, and most of the accounts were wiped out. So, yeah, we are actually trading in a very wild season. But at the same time, if your job is to trade, I cannot tell you to go out of the market completely. We have to stay around and see what is happening. But of course, it's time now to sit and look at what you did wrong or what you should have done right, but you didn't do. And then after identifying your mistakes, you find solutions before you can get back to the market. And that is in case you lost your accounts or you lost your money because of what was happening. So in this video, I would like us to look at 12 pairs, and I'm sharing my ideas or what I think will be happening in this week and if possible next week, but mainly my focus is on this week. So therefore, I'll be using a daily chart for all the pairs that I'm looking at, beginning with AUDCAD. So AUDCAD is what we are looking at now. Last week we saw the last day give us this move that was a very strong one, and we can see that when price reached this level, we got some simple rejection, and then we ended the week. So today, and what I expect this week, is a move up and a move down. So it will depend on how strong the move up will be. But for me, I think before I can consider selling opportunities, I would like to see a move up. And then if price comes up, I'll begin looking for more selling pressure to the downside. So until this candle is eaten away, I think I'll be aside, and I'll not try buying at the same time, because we do not know how far the selling pressure will go. So as of now, I'd like to see this week push up, and once I get any pullback to this zone, I'll be considering to sell AUDCAD. Let's look at the second pair, and this is AUD Swiss franc. I struggled with AUD Swiss franc last week. I was looking for a buying opportunity, and I was crushed to the downside. And so now I expect the selling pressure to continue. But before we do that, or before I continue the selling trend, which is the main trend, I'd like to see a push to the upside. And then once price comes up, I'll be looking for selling opportunities. As you can see, I have a very small order in the buying direction, just 0.01, and I'm looking at price moving up. I would have ignored this buying pressure, but I intend to just keep it there and see how it will move. But most likely it will be coming upwards, and once I get pressure to the upside, or at least into this zone, it may even go slightly above. Of course, if it reaches in this zone, the buying order will get out, and then I'll begin looking for selling setups, whereby I expect the selling momentum to continue to the downside. But before I get a pullback into this zone, I am not going to sell this pair. Let's look at the next pair, and this is AUDUSD. AUDUSD, we got this move on the last day of the week last week. In other words, on Friday, we had this move to the downside. And for me, I think that sellers are still in control. But before I sell, I would like to see all this candle being eaten by the buyers, I would like to see some pressure up, and then when price gets into this zone, I'll be looking for selling opportunities. In other words, when this candle is consumed, I'll begin looking for selling opportunities, believing that buyers will lose control and sellers will continue pushing price to the downside. That is AUDUSD. Let's look at another pair, and this is CAD Swiss franc. CAD Swiss franc, we had a move to the downside last week. I was expecting a move to the upside, but instead we saw price pushing the downside. And right now, I would like to continue selling, but before I sell, I would like to see price coming into this zone or even into this zone, and then I'll be looking for selling pressure, believing that the main trend, which is bearish, will continue for some good time. Let's look at another pair, and this is EURAUD. EURAUD, we had this sharp move to the upside. I was expecting that the pullback would continue downwards, but it couldn't. We just saw buyers step in and push price all the way into that area. And now, before I continue buying, I would like to see a pullback at least into this zone or even into this zone. Then I'll be able to look for buying opportunities. But before I get a sharp pullback into this zone, or at least this zone or this zone, for me, I think I'll not buy this pair. I want to continue buying, but at least I want to see a pullback into this zone. If it goes beyond this level, most likely it will continue to this one, but I am paying a lot of attention at this key level. Let's look at another pair, and this is Euro New Zealand dollar. So Euro New Zealand dollar, I'm again looking for buying opportunities. But before I buy, I would like to see this move to the downside. I would like to see a pullback, and a pullback should come at least into this key area. And if it goes beyond, it may come into this area, and that's when I'll be looking for buying opportunities. So I'll be looking for buying opportunities in this area or in this area. But before I get a pullback, I will not buy Euro New Zealand dollar. Let's look at another pair, and this is Great Britain Pound, AUD. Great Britain Pound, AUD. I would like to buy this pair, but before I buy, I would like to see a move to the downside into this zone. And if it goes beyond this zone, then I'll begin looking at this area. But before I get a sharp pullback, at least into this area, I'll not begin looking for buying opportunities. Let's look at another pair, and this is Great Britain Pound, New Zealand dollar. For me, I'm expecting to buy this pair, but again, before I buy, I'd like to see a pullback into this zone or even into this zone. But before I get a pullback at least into this area, I'll not buy this pair. So I'll begin looking for buying opportunities when price comes into this zone. Let's look at another pair, and this is New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, to me, the main trend is bearish. But before I sell, I would like to see a move to the upside or a pullback. And this pullback should come into this zone or even into this zone. And then I'll begin looking for selling pressure or selling setups whereby I expect price to continue to the downside. Let's look at another pair. Another pair is New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. So for me, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, I can see that the main trend is still bearish, and I'd like to continue selling this pair. But before I do that, I would like to see a pullback, and this pullback should come into this zone. And once it comes into this zone, I'll be selling, believing that price will continue to the downside. Let's look at another pair, and this is New Zealand dollar, US dollar. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we saw this move to the downside, and we can see that price is now in this key level. So for me, I believe that the selling trend is still on, and we will continue selling. But before I sell, I would like to see some pullback back into this zone. I would like to see pressure upwards into this zone. And once I see some pullback into this zone, I'll begin looking for selling opportunities. If this zone is broken and price goes upwards, I'll again stay aside and look for another level, but most likely we will be getting some selling pressure if price gets into this zone in the daily chart. Let's look at another pair, and this is the last pair in this video. It is US dollar Swiss franc. US dollar Swiss franc, we had this move to the downside. We can clearly see that the trend is the downside. So if we get pressure upwards back into this zone, in my opinion, we are likely going to see good setups that point to the downside. So I want to sell this pair, but before I sell, I would like to see a move to the upside back into this zone. And once that happens, I'll begin looking for selling setups on a daily chart. Please take note that all these pairs which I've shared, the 12 pairs, I have used the daily chart, so you can share your views depending on what you expect to be going on this week, and if possible next week. But as I said, my focus is on this week. Otherwise, keep safe, trade with a stop loss which is well calculated. Otherwise, the season is not easy. It is a tough season, and trading it needs a lot of caution.